All right. So the question we are going to be talking about is, she's my mother. Why can't I just let it go? I feel like there's once again so many iterations of this conceptually, but yeah, just that like, why am I making such a big deal out of this? She's doing her best. Why can't I just move on? Am I being too sensitive? Like that whole bucket of like ideas or questions or thoughts that someone might have. My name is Christina. I'm here with Maureen. We are marriage and family therapists that are just talking through some of the really common experiences that adult daughters have with complex family dynamics. And so this is one of the big questions. Why can't I just let it go? What are your thoughts, Maureen?
Yeah, and sometimes it comes from the adult daughter, like, why can't I just let it go? And sometimes it comes from other people. Why can't you just let it go? Why do you have to call her out? Why do you have to like try to, it's just like basically, why are you having big feelings about this? So whether that's coming from internally or other people, basically it buckles down to, why are you reactive in this moment? And I think it creates guilt and shame and sometimes embarrassment and even more rage sometimes of just, having these feelings be so invalidated. And basically the message is, could you not? Like, can you just not? We know how she is. Just deal with it. Everyone else is just like playing along. Like, why can't you?
Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest dynamics that is so common is this internalized message. Again, we've talked about boundaries, we've talked about responsibility, that like everyone else's stuff takes priority. And so any idea that you might be feeling something or might be needing something, there's really oftentimes this like really negative reaction to it. And again, that's you're being too sensitive, you're being so dramatic. And so you internalize this idea that if you're feeling any kind of frustration or if you're feeling any kind of anger, that it's not okay. And then oftentimes shame can kind of come right along with anger. Like, again, it's that message like, I am so dramatic. I'm such a dramatic person. I'm so sensitive, right? So there's a character identification that gets connected to this. Like, if I feel angry at my mother, then it says this about me. And the reason I think that's so important is because, especially as women, like we need to learn that anger is an appropriate emotion at times, that it's an important emotion at times, because anger is the emotion that lets us know that one of our boundaries is being violated in some way. And so when that's cut off, when we're cut off from that emotion, especially at a really young age, it can really affect us, how we move about the world and our ability to advocate for ourselves and our ability to set boundaries, because we can get twisted around of like, okay, I'm feeling anger, but I'm not supposed to feel anger. So I need to like push that down. It's not that big of a deal. I can let it go. You like talk yourself out of your anger almost, which can
Yeah.
be dangerous, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And if everyone else in the family dynamic is playing a part or going along, or they have their own role of being the funny one or being the distance one, being the independent one, and everyone else has their own survival skill, and you have big feelings or you want to talk about it or you want to address the elephant in the room or you want to have the conversation, those other folks might be like, no, don't do
Yeah.
that. It's not worth it. Or what's wrong with you? Or can't you just play along? And that it becomes like you're saying, it's the shame based, like, why can't I do it the way everyone else is doing it?
Yes.
Versus like, no, you're having an appropriate response to the situation. You're like feeling your feelings, and that's important information for you.
Yeah. And I think a component of that too is like other people get to be angry. Like your mom gets to be angry. Your mom gets to flip
Of
her
course.
lid, and that's okay. But if you have any kind of anger, then that's not okay. Or if there's a big argument in the household and everyone's escalated, but then they recover very quickly, but you're still feeling feelings about it. The message you get is like, oh, we're all over it. Like, why are you still talking about this thing? Like, we've all moved on, So again, it's just like through this invalidation and yeah, this messaging that it's not okay, that really can cause a person to have a really complicated and messy relationship with anger. So often the way that can show up is as an adult, there's a lot of like disconnecting, a lot of suppression, a lot of talking yourself out of that anger, a lot of like, just let it go, just let it go, to the point where many people are so cut off from their anger, they genuinely think they're just like the cool, chill, relax, like it's not that big of a deal. They've like, it really becomes a part of how they move about the world. But the problem is like under the surface, things are building,
Yeah.
it's a person that you're dating that shows up an hour later than he said he would, or doesn't call when he said he would. It's not that big of a deal. Like, and hey, one-off things happen, but like this pattern of like little things and little things and little things, and it's building. And then there's oftentimes for many people who fall into that sort of like feelings suppression, people pleasing space, then there's suddenly a big reaction to something that might seemingly be very small. And then the message gets reinforced because why are you being so sensitive? This isn't that big of a deal. When in reality, it's not about that one thing. It's about the 13 other times it happened before that you didn't say anything because you were never taught that it was okay to say something.
Right. Yeah, and anger gets a bad rap. I feel like it gets equated with rage. Like rage is a behavior. Anger is a feeling. Anger is a feeling just like any of the other feelings, and what you do with it, how you choose to engage with it. So I think people equate anger with a behavior versus anger is just a feeling. Anger is a feeling, like you said, that a boundary is being violated, something doesn't feel right, you're unsafe, this is, something's not okay, your body's alert system is going off. And it doesn't mean you rage, it means you make choices about how to be self-protective. But if that survival skill has been taken away, that tool of anger has been taken away because it was unacceptable in your home to have an opinion, to backtalk, to be disrespectful. These are all code words for it's not okay to feel your feelings, it's not okay to have an opinion. That's information of those are like common words in your home that like your self-protective strategy had been stripped from you or punished, or there was a consequence for you having an opinion or feeling your feelings.
Yeah.
So, I think of like I often ask people, like, were you allowed to have the tantrum? Were you allowed to have the meltdown? Did you have the rebellious phase? And people are like, I did not have a tantrum. Are you kidding? That would have been way worse for me. Or you learn you have the tantrum, and if no one's coming to scrape you off the floor and help you out and like comfort you, then you what's the point of having the tantrum? So those feelings either get punished or they get suppressed because no one's there for you. So anger is a feeling just like any other feeling, and it's figuring out what to do with it and how to respond to it. And it's important information that anger is telling you something.
Yeah, I think you said a lot of really important things. Like one of the things that jumps out right out of the gates is this idea of like, parents can respond all kinds of different ways to a kiddo experiencing really big feelings, experiencing the tantrum. And it could be more overt, the like yelling, the shaming, the criticizing, but it can also be a withdrawal that can be equally as damaging to a small child. So, and the message would be the same. Oh, when I have really big feelings, when I feel really angry, this thing, insert negative reaction here. And so the message is, I need to learn how to not have I need to learn how to shut this emotion down. And so I feel like, when we think about that idea of anger being an emotion, anger management is a skill. It's a skill set that parents, it is their response, talking about the concept of responsibility in buckets. It's a parent's responsibility to teach a child, to help a child to understand what healthy emotion regulation and anger management looks like, right? So, hey, bud, it's okay that you're feeling angry. I totally get why you're feeling angry. And also, it's not okay to hit, right? Like that's the kind of language of helping a child to understand the feeling is not wrong, right? We just want to be thoughtful about how we're expressing that feeling. And I think when a child is only exposed, when it's not taught in a way other than just suppress it, like that's your only option, you have to suppress it. And then what's modeled is only a parent's big reactivity, then that reinforces this idea of like, oh, I can't get angry. That's a really common thought of like, oh, if I let myself, what would happen if you let yourself feel angry? Oh, it'll look like that. I'll be unsafe to other people. I'll rage. If I feel anger, it'll be this big, scary thing because that's your only model with it. And it can get to the point where even like being in the space of someone who might be angry triggers that fear response because that's what you think. Anger is associated with this raging, which reinforces that suppressing. I can't feel angry. Yeah. So yeah, I think so. Just a lot of really good points with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd be interested in the future to talk more about those family roles and what it looks like when you have feelings or the anger comes up, because I think what you're saying to the suppress, explode thing is really hard. So how can you start paying attention to those anger cues sooner? And we've talked about boundaries and what does that mean for like having a voice and showing up. And it doesn't have to be enraged, but you get to use your anger in a way that's self-protective. And that's a really important part of the healing process.
Yeah, something I want to tag this for us to talk about in the future because I think it's so important is I believe tapping into our feeling of anger, the anger that we felt when we were younger, that we couldn't articulate safely, we couldn't convey in a way that it was heard and validated. I think tapping into that anger is actually an essential part of the healing process. And people often report like they're doing the work and then there's this period of time where it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I can't even like be around my mom because I'm so angry, right? Is actually actually an essential component of healing, because you're finally feeling the feelings that you've been suppressing. And when you make space for it, and when you learn how to manage it, and when you learn how to talk about it, then it starts to shift, right? Then it starts to like change and morph. And sometimes we need that anger to get over, we talk a lot about guilt getting in the way of being able to set boundaries. Sometimes the anger actually is the thing that trumps the guilt, that allows us the space to finally, set the boundaries that we need to set and overcome those feelings of guilt. So anyway, a lot to talk about here. But yeah. Anger is an important part of the process. Anger is valid. Anger is an emotion. It is an important emotion. It is something to listen to. And maybe it's just about learning what that looks like. So
yeah. So to answer the question, why can't you let it go? It's because you're paying attention.
Because you're paying attention.
You're feeling your feelings, and you're paying attention, and you're noticing, and your body's telling you like something's not right. It's a good thing. I know it might feel overwhelming, but it's a good thing.
You feel the feeling, you get to decide what you do with that feeling. So there's the choice theme again that keeps coming up. Cool. Leave comments. Let us know if you have any specific questions you want to see us pontificate about. And yeah, we'll be back with more.